Hi viewers, just another short maintenance video. This one's about brake pads. This bike's come in, it's needed most of the things in the service, so cables, indexing, gears, still needs a drivetrain clean. But one of the jobs on the list, and I thought we'll make a quick video while we're doing it, is changing the brake pads. So the ones on the front are actually quite good, the ones on the back completely worn, which should normally be your situation anyway. You should primarily be using your rear brake anyway, so quite often you'll find that the rear ones wear quicker than the front ones. So the front ones are absolutely fine. We're going to change the pads on the back wheel. Very important, as you can imagine, to keep on top of maintenance of your brakes. As important as it is to make sure your bike can take you forward, it's just as important, if not more so, to make sure that you can use your brakes. No brakes, very dangerous situation. So let's have a look at our components. So if we have a look at the existing pads, pretty much no wear on there whatsoever, absolutely down to the bone. And we're going to change them for these Jaguar ones, and it shouldn't take too long. In terms of tools, a little triple Allen key, or I believe for these it's, let's have a look, is it a number 5? I believe it's a number, here we go, zoom in on that, yeah, number 5 Allen key. Might be different on your one, but it's usually Allen key fitting. But these have probably left it a little bit too long. I'm going to change them for these Jaguar ones, and just while we're here, I'll just show you. If you have a look just there, it's got an L for left, and hopefully, if I've got the right set, should have a R for right. So make sure they are directional, some of them aren't. I think on the MTB ones it doesn't really matter so much. And this little rubber band, if it does come packaged like that, we've got two of them wrapped together, just keep that handy. I'll show you later on in the video what you can use that for. Let's get started. Okay, to start off with, you've got a little clamp here that clamps your brake cable to your calipers. Just undo the clamp and take the tension out of the caliper. Next, move over to the brake pad, and again it's a number 5 Allen key. Just undo that and dispose of them responsibly. Do exactly the same on the other side. Okay, so we've got the old pads off and we've got the new pads here, and we're using the correct ones. So we're on the right hand side of the bike, and there's a small R there. Just undo the bolt, place it roughly where you want it, not too precise, and do it up. Okay, so I've got the first fit, if you like, on both sides of the caliper, on both brake pads. When I say first fit, I mean approximately where you want it to sit. Just nip it up slightly so it stays there and doesn't wobble about. And then just give the caliper a squeeze. So if you just come a bit closer, you can see that actually looks like it's okay, but then when you squeeze the caliper, the braking surface of the pad is actually up on the rubber of the tyre. So just squeeze the caliper, adjust it, and usually on the pads there's like a little bit of a shape, a little bit of a camber, and that should follow the rim. So just there seems fine. Squeeze onto the caliper and just nip up. Might just have to hold it there roughly. There we go. And once you've nipped it up and this distance is equal front and back roughly, just push on, and no part of it should be anywhere near the rubber. It should be quite close to the top without being too close. And then repeat the same thing on the other side. We're not just done yet. We have to just slightly, if we can, just toe the back of the pad if we can. Okay, so both our pads are on and hopefully sat correctly on the rim and tightened up both sides. If I can focus just there on that one. We're almost ready to reclamp that cable. I'm not going to reclamp it just yet because we've got one more thing to do. You've got your barrel adjuster here. Now, because you will have significantly changed the thickness of the pad. So we had a pad that was completely worn out. We've got one that's got quite a bit of material left on it. We might just need to reset the barrel adjuster so you've got adjustments both up and down. So if you do need to fine tune your brakes, you've got movement up and down. So I'm just going to back it out a bit and lock it down. So now, because of that little gap just there, I can just let some cable out and that should slacken off the tightness of the brakes, or I can go that way and it can increase the tension on the cable to bring the pads closer in. So I've got adjustment both ways before I clamp the cable. Okay, how do I know where to clamp the cable? What I do is I just squeeze the calipers until they touch the rim. Previously I should have made sure really that the caliper is centered. Here we go. Once I've touched, pull all the cable out, and then just here, maybe 7 or 8 mil, clamp the cable just here, 7 or 8 mil below where the clamp is. Clamp it with your fingers, let some out, and then just clamp up the cable clamp. And that'll give you the little bit of clearance that you need either side of each pad so it's not rubbing. Okay, now just for the fine tuning, once you've clamped that, your quick release on the brakes, just put that back down to where it was. Give your wheel a spin, make sure your gaps either side are consistent. Now in this instance, you've got a little bit of rubbing there, which is prematurely stopping the wheel, so we're just going to sort that out. In terms of fine tuning, we need to increase this gap now, so it's very simple. Just use your barrel adjuster to let out some cable, and that should, if you've noticed, should have increased the gap just there. So that previously, when I said let out some adjustment into the, if it's been maxed out either up or down, put it roughly in a middle ground so you've got adjustment both ways, and that's just sorted that out for us. Go back up to the brake lever and test and release and test and release several times just to make sure the caliper is equal on both sides and there's no rubbing. Okay, so hopefully that's helped you with fitting the pads on your road bike. Now that particular pad is specific to the road bike, and I said earlier the little rubber band that was holding them together, it's useful. Now on the road bike it's not really relevant because there's none of these little washers on there. And if you just come in here, on the MTB type pads you've got these little washers that are, is it concaved and convexed like that, going into cups. They allow for you to manipulate how the pad sits, and quite often when the pad sits flat like that onto the rim, it causes like a vibration and you get squeaky brakes. So what we tend to do is just stick that rubber band just on the back end here so that the front of the pad, this is an exaggeration, but the front of the pad touches before the back of the pad by about 1 millimeter, and that should offset that vibration and you won't get that noise. So you just pack that on there before clamping down on here. So that's what that was for. Not so much relevant for the road bikes. Okay, so hopefully that video has been useful in helping you change your pads. Very important to keep on top of all maintenance, especially on the bikes. If the video has been useful, please like, follow, share and subscribe. As ever, stay safe and enjoy your cycling.